You know, let me see. Yeah, okay. But that was fast. Now look. Mark Jack, bless up your good self. Oh God, I lost my hearing. I, I just took a shower and now my, you know when you take a shower and the water gets in your ears? Well, I don't know. Some una no beard, so una might not know. But me, I taught the ones them that beard. Sometime when you're washing your hair, the water gets all in your ears. Oh my goodness. We just have wait. Me not say nothing. Yeah, look on the thumbs up. Okay, three. Alright. Alright. I'm trying to keep very calm on this Monday. Don't want to get excited. Me don't want my heart to race. None of them thing there. So me I take my sweet calm old self and relax my nerve. Okay, while we're relaxing, could anybody tell me what yesterday was? As we're waiting, you guys who's here, moderators and so forth, does anybody want to mention to me, or type what was yesterday? Okay, we're just waiting on the answer for anyone to tell me what was yesterday. Earth to I'm a Rasta for life lifers. Anybody, what was yesterday? Yeah, nigga, what's going on here? You know what? Let me see if it's me first. Okay, nobody. Really? Really, Mark Jack, yesterday was Sunday. That's all? That's all, Mark Jack? It was just Sunday? Anyone else? You 45 people who were here other than Mark Jack who answered. Thank you, Mark Jack. But anybody else have anything to say about yesterday? Blaze, Buenos tardes. Okay, from New Mexico. Blaze, could you tell me what was yesterday? Anyone else have any more answers? As I enjoy this wonderful cannabis sativa and my Java. Anybody else have anything else to say? Let me see how much people are here. Okay, 56 people. Anybody else? Thank you very much, Blaze. Muchas gracias, senor. Muchas gracias, senor. I was about to get very nervous. So nobody knew yesterday was Palm Sunday. Now, can somebody tell me what Palm Sunday symbolizes? Blaze, please don't answer. Blaze, do not answer. I want somebody else to answer. What does Palm Sunday symbolize? Um, Ridwan, please, Ridwan. Please, we're not doing that right now. Please, I beg. I beg. Let's concentrate on one topic at a time. Now, what does Palm Sunday symbolize? Come on, all you Jesus people. Jesus, the blood of Jesus, 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 Jesus. Come on. You guys are in church every day, toting Bibles and running around. What does it symbolize? All right, Ridwan, baby, Ridwan. I'm gonna time you out for a minute because where we there? Because we're doing this and you did it attack. So I got time you out a little bit because right? Okay. Conscious mind, really conscious mind? No. This is what I'm talking about, right? You got all of these people, especially on social media. We're on social media. Okay, Blaze, baby. We're on social media, but it's very important for ones to know symbolizations, right? It's okay, for you to join the crowd and run around, but then, when, things happen, ones are completely oblivious to what it means. But yet everyone cries on Jesus. Conscious mind, darling, no problem, sweetheart. It's no problem, darling. We're not afraid over here. We're not afraid. And once you mentioned that you're an atheist, right? Over here, we try to build our own content. We're not inner what the rest of the Jamaican diaspora is into right now. No, we're not into it. We're creating our own content because this is better. And it will also enlighten you as to what's going on with these mean-spirited Jamaican grey-tone, grey-back women who present themselves on social media. And all they want you to do is just engage in their nonsense, and it's over for you. Now, yesterday, I do my little pieces here and there, and I only have, the untruth camp who I'll talk about, periodically. But other than that, me not there here for laba with Unu. Me not there here for have behind the closed door conversation with none of Unu. Because as Unu can see right before Unu eyes, the whole of Unu I get exposed. The whole of Unu. I be know it already. The whole of Unu is friend. I pretend say Unu is not friend. And now the whole of Unu friendship I broke out and I come out in all kind of crevices. And me glad say me no in a hit with none of Unu. Oh yeah, guys, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's this group of Jamaican women on social media who are just deplorable. Their behavior, their language, everything. Lies, deceit. With friends like these who need enemies. That's why, met a friend with these people. Now, when it comes to, they got these charities and so forth, and you got these individuals who would just, be there because they want to be messy. It's not that they want to really donate and give to the cause. It's because they want to be messy. And you get to see this. You get to hear this. You don't believe it. But then when you put two and two together, you realize that these people are just messy. And when they're giving, they're not really giving from the heart. Now, when things go wrong, all of these things are being exposed right here on social media. So, we're not impressed, and that's why we don't follow the crowd. Thank you. It is what it is. I mean, others could have. Okay, so in the belief, right, Palm Sunday is where the Christ entered into Jerusalem. And the reason that it is significant is because it shows the people's belief in man, God in other flesh, Awa, on earth. Good? That's what that means. Because it really happened, right? It happened. It did. Now, okay, before all of that, you see, this is what we do here because, we don't want to get into the lubber lubber business because that's not helping us. What's helping us is what our Creator sees us doing. Don't forget, when you're dead, you can't do it. You got to do it when you're alive. Real talk. So, um, as a child, right? As a child, because remember now, okay, this is God in the flesh, right? That's the concept, that it's God in the flesh. Okay. Now, the professor of Oriental languages at Cambridge first translated and published this gospel in 1697. It was received by the Gnostics, a set of Christians in the 2nd century, and several of its relations were credited in the following ages by other Christians. And they give you the names, right? Zosiman says he was told by many, and he credits the relations of the idols in Egypt, Africa, falling down on Joseph and Mary, Mary's flight with the Christos, and of the Christos making a well to wash his clothes in a sycamore tree, from whence balsam afterwards proceeded. These stories are from the Gospel. Chemnitlus, out of Stipulensis, who had it from Peter Martyr, Bishop of Alexandria, in the 3rd century, says that the place in Egypt where Christ was banished is now called Materia, about 10 miles beyond Cairo. That the inhabitants constantly burn a lamp in remembrance of it, and that there is a garden of trees yielding a balsam, which were planted by the Christ when he was a boy. Okay, so we're reading, there are several, all right. There are several stories believed of the Christ proceeding from this gospel, as that which Mr. Syke relates out of Labrosse's Persic lexicon, that Christ practiced the trade of a dyer, and his working a miracle with the colors, from whence the Persian dyes honor him as their patron, and call a dye house the shop of Christ. Sir John Chardin mentions Persian legends concerning Christ's dispute with his schoolmaster about his ABC, and his lengthening the cedar board, which Joseph sawed too short. I know, right? I like to do this because it's better than, doing what others do. And as you can see, when you log on, as I do, basically people want to hear the mixy and the messy and the susu and the this and the that. But it's very dangerous right now on social media, and I don't want any involvement in it with these black horrible women, these messy women who have no loyalty, who have no ethics, none of that. And yet they watch me smoking a little weed and have all kind of things to say. But at least I'm not doing what you guys are doing, which is creating havoc on social media and letting black women look bad. Black Jamaican women. Y'all are very shameful. Now, remember that Christ is flesh and blood. And his mother was Maryam. Now, there was a man, his name is Caiaphas. And he can tell us about the Christ when he was a child. The following accounts we found in the book of Joseph the high priest, called by some Caiaphas. He relates that Iesus spake even when he was in the cradle, and said to his mother, Maryam, I am Iesus, the son of the Creator. That word which thou didst bring forth according to the declarations of the angel Gabriel to thee, and my Father have sent me for the salvation of the world. In the 309th year of the era of Alexander, Augustus published a decree that all persons should go to be taxed in their own country. Joseph therefore arose, and with Mary, his spouse, he went to Jerusalem, and then came to Bethlehem, that he and his family might be taxed in the city of his fathers. And when they came by the cave, Mary confessed to Joseph that her time of bringing forth was come, and she could not go on to the city, and said, let us go into this cave. At that time, the sun was very near going down. But Joseph hastened away that he might fetch her a midwife. And when he saw an old Hebrew woman who was of Jerusalem, He said to her, "Pray come hither, good woman, and go into the cave, and you will there see a woman just ready to bring forth." It was after sunset when the old woman and Joseph with her reached the cave, and they both went into it. And behold, it was all filled with lights, greater than the light of lamps and candles, and greater than the light of the sun itself. The infant was then wrapped up in swaddling clothes and sucking the breasts of his mother, Miriam. When they both saw the light, they were surprised. The old woman asked, "Miriam, art thou the mother of this child?" Miriam replied, "She was." On which day the old woman said, "Thou art different from all other women." Miriam answered, "As there is not any child like to my son, so neither is there any woman like to his mother." The old woman answered and said, "O my lady, I am come hither that I may obtain an everlasting reward." And she's Ethiopian. The old woman answered and said, "O my lady, I am come hither that I may obtain an everlasting reward." Then our lady Miriam said to her, "Lay thine hands upon the infant," which when she had done, she became whole. And as she was going forth, she said, "From henceforth all the days of my life, I will attend upon and be a servant of this infant." After this, when the shepherds came and had made a fire, and they were exceedingly rejoicing, the heavenly host appeared to them, praising and adoring the supreme creator. Girl, Dad. And as the shepherds were engaged in the same employment, the cave at that time seemed like a glorious temple, because both the tongues of angels and men united to adore and magnify the Creator on account of the birth of the Lord, the Christus. But when the old Hebrew woman saw all these evident miracles, she gave praises to the Almighty and said, "I thank thee, O Father, thou art Father of Israel, for that mine eyes have seen the birth of the Savior of the world." And when the time of his circumcision was come, namely the 8th day, on which the law commanded the child to be circumcised, they circumcised him in the cave. And the old Hebrew woman took the foreskin, others say she took the navel string, and preserved it in an alabaster box of old oil of spikenard. And she had a son who was a druggist, to whom she said, "Take heed, thou sell not this alabaster box of spikenard ointment, although thou shouldn't be offered 300 pence for it." Now this is that alabaster box which Miriam, the sinner, procured and poured forth the ointment of it upon the head and the feet of our Lord, Jesus the Christus, and wiped it off with the hairs of her head. And you see, this is where I wanted to go. This is so amazing. It is unbelievable. God is real. I wanted to talk about this particular right here. This is what I want to know, how to This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable for me. You just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know. Now, Maria, who they're talking about, Miriam the sinner, okay, talking about Mary Magdalene, right? She was from Magdalene, Maria. She was a prostitute. Right? Okay. She was very tormented. I don't know how she, I don't know how she came into the possession of the oil. I don't know. I can't remember. Me not there here for answer if me a smoke, right? The thing that you guys don't get is that what I'm doing, everybody else can see, including the creator, right? Please remember this. Please, I beg. Now, the prostitute, the hooker, this is why you mustn't judge people, right? You mustn't judge people. Do not judge. Don't, right? Don't, right? Because the prostitute, the hooker, the one who sells her body for money, Mary Magdalene, Maria Magdalene from Magdalene, was able to encounter Christ, right? Okay. The apostles did not want her around. Them detest her. Them never like her. And she got the opportunity to come up into the upper room where them did there. And she bowed down. And them are look upon her. The apostles, they are looking at her with such venom. And she take ISS's feet them, and she rubbed them with the oil. And the way how she rubbed his foot with the oil, the apostle them nearly have a coronary, because them said this is out of orderness. It looked like she make love to him feet. Real talk. I was there. Good. And she rubbed the oil, then she take her ear. She take her locks them, yes, long pretty locks them, and she put them in the oil. And then she rub him foot with her ear with the oil. No, sir. They looked at her and said, what are you doing? You can't do that. Christ said, leave her alone. Look at what she's doing. Which one of Uno have done this? So, who are you to judge anyone? Because the worst of the worst can also be chosen. Now, this is the alabaster box which Mary the sinner, Maria the sinner, procured and poured forth the ointment out of it upon the head and the feet of our Lord Jesus the Christ, and wiped it off with the natty dreadlocks of our head. Because they're Nazarene, so them have dreadlocks, you know. Ahmed, hi sweetheart. Good? Okay. So I am just amazed at how I wanted to speak about this particular subject right here about Mariam of Magdalene and how Iesos loved her. And remember now, remember, this is God in the flesh. You guys just don't get it. Good? This is God, you know. This is the Almighty in flesh. That's the concept. He took flesh. He took human form in order to experience, you know, the world. Right? That's the concept. But you just get like you know get like a timepiece of when this is going to happen. And then when Christ was born, you had the solar eclipse. Lawrence, always remember that. When Christ was born, there was a solar eclipse. Ahmed, relax. Okay, always remember that, guys, right? Always remember that. At the time Christ was being born, there was a solar eclipse, and that's why there was so much light in the cave where in the barn. It wasn't a barnyard. Barnyard. It wasn't no barnyard. We lived in caves back in the ancients of days. Please remember that. We lived in caves. Ahmed knows. Ahmed knows what's up. It's the truth. And worse, they're Hebrew. And nothing good can come out of. Because it's a bunch of Hebrew people, and you know, none of them is not good. Good? Okay, then. Now, Joseph came from Bethlehem. I think. Yeah, I have to find it. Yeah. So as I'm reading this, I am just amazed. I am just so amazed that God is real, right? This is just you know, God is for real. Because then I get to read. Now, this is that alabaster box which Mary of Magdalene, the sinner, the prostitute, procured and poured forth the ointment out of it upon the head and feet of the Lord Jesus the Christus, and wiped it off with her hair. Then after 10 days they brought him to Jerusalem, and on the 40th day from his birth they presented him in the temple, before the Lord, making the proper offerings for him, according to the requirement of the law of Moses, namely that every male which opens the womb shall be called holy unto the Creator. Amen. Amen. Oh God. Simeon. Yeah. Now when Simeon saw Mariam with the baby, he just said, that's it for me. I'm done. I can close my eyes now. Because for mine eyes have seen thy mercy, which thou hast prepared for the salvation of all nations, a light to all people, and the glory of thy people Israel. Hannah, the prophetess, was also present, and drawing near, she gave praises to the Father and celebrated the happiness of Mary. That's Hannah. Mm-hmm. Ahmed, what? Ahmed, what's the matter? Listen, you know what? Ahmed, please don't start. Okay. Now, did you know that when Herod came, right? Okay, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Okay, Mariam gave the swaddling cloth to one of the three wise men. And the star appeared again. And on their return, their kings and princesses came to them inquiring what they had seen and done, what sort of journey and return they had, what company they had on the road. But they produced the swaddling cloth which Mariam had given to them on account whereof they kept a feast. And having, according to the custom of their country, made a fire, they worshipped it, and casting the swaddling cloth into it, the fire took it and kept it. And when the fire was put out, they took forth the swaddling cloth unearthed, as much as if the fire had not touched it. Then they began to kiss it and put it upon their heads and their eyes, saying, this is certainly an undoubted truth. And it is really surprising that the fire could not burn it and consume it. Then they took it and with the greatest respect laid it up among their treasures. Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Throw them in the fire and they never get burned. Thank you, Ingrid. I always love my Ings. Thanks, Ing, because you know what? Anywho, yeah. Okay, so that again is an account, right? A written account of what happened with the swaddling cloth. And when them throw it past the fire and wherever, I don't know the reason why. Perhaps it was like a sacrificial, like a sacrificial thing that, they're giving to the Father and so forth. The thing never burn up. When the fire out, the cloth in a one piece. And that's so them now say it's for real. Now when Herod is on the loose, the angel met them know say you have to go to Egypt. You see, when they got to Egypt, the idols fell down. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that like... What do you mean the idols fell down? Oh yeah. See, when they got to Egypt, Kemet, Africa, because they like to make it look like Egypt is not in Africa, because we want to know where Egypt there. Right? Because they always try to make it look like it's in the Sahara and it's over here and it's over there. It is in Africa. Oh, please remember that. Right next to Ethiopia. Now, so them I forgot Egypt, right? Ask yourself, why them I forgot Egypt? What's the reason? Why? What, wait. Why they gonna go to Egypt? Think. Because Miriam don't already know, said, look, if them not look like we and with this, that, them are gonna see we. No, we're gonna go to Egypt because everybody there look like us. I want you to say something. I want you to say something. So they have to go to Egypt because everybody there they look like them. You know, this color, So they will blend in with the people of Egypt without nobody knowing that they're there. Okay? Right. Because if they were Anglo-Saxon, they would be spotted in 2 seconds. Who them there? Real talk. Okay? Because you can't be in Egypt and be any other color than. So anywho, I know you guys don't like it. You don't like when we big up our blackness. You want to keep us in the dark forever. But this year one over here now, make none of uno keep we in a no dark. Y'all been doing it for too long. I don't know what you're talking about, Stephanie. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay? It's called, Christ called it calamus. Told you guys, don't judge because the hooker was at his side. Don't play. And she rubbed his foot and head with oil. Don't play around. Good? Okay. Alright? Alright. That's why I say it. Because I want who to say, I read it too. And me did remember it as well. And me say, well, me want to talk about it. But as I read the thing, it just come in at the thing I read. And me say, well, look at this God. So me don't know is what who not talk about. Good? Okay. Remember said she was one big prostitute. Tormented. And she ran back to the prostitution too, you know. She did missing in action for a couple. Them I wonder where she there. And she run back. and say, forgive me, Lord. How I know? I was there. Thank you, Lebo. Mercy. Mercy beaucoup, my darling. Yes, I was there. Oh God, my ear just unplugged. If I was screaming, I'm sorry. I just got the pop. Boop. Oh my Lord, what a difference. Sorry if I was screaming, I'm going tone deaf. Okay. So this is why I'm emphasizing on Mary of, me I do it in the English for Uno. Mary of Magdalene. Good? Okay. So don't point fingers. Don't. Isn't this fun? Yeah, now. So the father said, only I forgot Egypt. Because the madman out there are trying to kill off everybody. So only go to Egypt, lay low until I say move. Good? Okay. That's how they end up in Egypt. Now, did you know when they got there, the idols tumbled down? Were you aware that the idols, the sphinxes and all these things that them have up there, the whole of them toppled down? Isn't that amazing? And that's the picture I showed you of them traveling, right? Okay, they were traveling, to Egypt. Wow, okay, so now when they entered Egypt, and now he drew near to a great city in which there was an idol, to which the other idols and gods of Egypt brought their offerings and vows. And there was by this idol a priest ministering to it, as often as Satan spoke out of that idol related the things he said to the inhabitants of Egypt in those countries. The priest had a son 3 years old, who was possessed with a great multitude of devils, who uttered many strange things. And when the devil seized him, walked about naked with his clothes torn, throwing stones at those whom he saw. Hi, Mia. Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Boo. Near to that idol was the inn of the city, into which when Joseph and Miriam were come and had turned into that inn, all the inhabitants of the city were astonished. And all the magistrates and priests of the idols assembled before that idol and made inquiry there, saying, what means all this consternation and dread which has fallen upon all our country? The idol answered them, the unknown God is come hither, who is truly God, nor is there anyone beside him who is worthy of divine worship, for he is truly the Son of the Creator. At the fame of him, this country trembled, and at his coming it is under the present commotion and consternation, and we ourselves are affrighted by the greatness of his power. And at the same instant, the idol fell down. And at his fall, all the inhabitants of Egypt, besides others, ran together. But the son of the priest, when his usual disorder came upon him, going into the inn, found there Joseph and Miriam, whom all the rest had left behind and forsook. And when the lady Miriam had washed the swaddling clothes of the Lord Christus and hanged them out to dry upon a post, the boy possessed with the devil took down one of them and put it upon his head. And presently the devils began to come out of his mouth and fly away in the shape of crows and serpents. From that time, the boy was healed by the power of the Lord, Iesus the Christos, and he began to sing praises and give thanks to the Lord who had healed him. When his father saw him restored to his former state of health, he said, "My son, what has happened to thee, and by what means when wert thou cured?" The son answered, "When the devil seized me, I went into the inn, and there found a very handsome woman with a boy, whose swaddling clothes she had just before washed, and hanged out upon the post. One of these I took and put it upon my head, and immediately the devils left me and fled away." At this the father exceedingly rejoiced and said, "My son, perhaps this boy is the son of the living God, who made the heavens and the earth. For as soon as he came amongst us, the idol was broken, and all the gods fell down and were destroyed by a greater power. Then was fulfilled the prophecy which saith, Out of Egypt I have called my son." Don't play with me. Yeah, and Mary had a lot of powers too. A lot of power. And there was a man who was impotent. He couldn't enjoy his wife. They came towards another city and had a mind to lodge there. Accordingly, they went to a man's house who was newly married, but by the influence of sorcerers could not enjoy his wife. I gotta take this one in. Hold up. Wait. All right. Alrighty now. Accordingly, they went to a man's house who was newly married, but by the influence of sorcerers could not enjoy his wife. But they lodging at his house that night, the man was freed of his disorder. And when they were preparing early in the morning to go forward on their journey, I like that, forward, the new married person hindered them and provided a noble entertainment for them. But going forward on the morrow, they came to another city and saw 3 women going from a certain grave with great weeping. I don't know. Wait. No, I think this is a bit much. This is about this is a bit no. We have to leave that for another day. So this is very fascinating. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Now, Iesus prophesies that the thieves, Dumachus and Titus, shall be crucified with him, and that Titus shall go before him into paradise. Now, and as they were going along, because now they're leaving Egypt, right? They saw two robbers. The name of these two were Titus and Dumachus. And Titus said to Dumachus, I beseech thee, let these persons go along quietly, that our company may not perceive anything of them. But Dumachus refusing, Titus again said, I will give thee 40 goats, and as a pledge, take my girdle which he gave him he had done speaking, that he might not open his mouth or make a noise. When Miriam saw the kindness which this robber did show them, she said to him, the Lord, the Father, will receive thee to his right hand and grant thee pardon of thy sins. Then the Lord Iesus answered and said to his mother, when 30 years are expired, O mother, the Jews will crucify me at Jerusalem. And these two thieves shall be with me at the same time upon the cross. Titus on my right hand, and Dumachus on my left. And from that time, Titus shall go before me into paradise. And when she had said, O Lord, forbid this should be thy lot, O my son, they went unto a city in which were several idols, which as soon as they came near to it, was turned into hills of sand. Hence they went to the sycamore tree, which is now called Mataria. And in Mataria the Lord Iesus caused a well to spring forth, in which Miriam washed his coat. And a balsam is produced or grows in that country from the sweat which ran down there from the Lord Iesus. Thence they proceeded to Memphis, and saw Pharaoh, and abode 3 years in Egypt. And the Lord Iesus did very many miracles in Egypt, which are neither to be found in the gospel of the infancy, nor in the gospel of perfection. At the end of 3 years he returned out of Egypt, and when he came near to Judea, Joseph was afraid to enter, for hearing that Herod was dead, and that Archelaus, his son, reigned in his stead, he was afraid. And when he went to Judea, an angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, O Joseph, go into the city, Nazareth, and abide there. It is strange indeed that he, who is the Lord of all countries, should be thus carried backward and forward through so many countries. Bartholomew. So all of this is about the healing. The healings he did. Okay. Judas. Now remember Judas, right? I want you to remember Judas. Remember, I told you guys, but I read a lot, so hold on, give me a minute. Oh, you can see my chair, right? I'm so exhausted. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're here on I'm a Rasta for life, we can be here, doing something productive other than you're on live hours on end and all you're doing is tearing down others. Who wants to do that? I'd rather do this. Now, when you learned about the Christ, right? Because, as I said, Palm Sunday went by, and all you Bible-toting people and all you Christ worshippers and so forth, you all are very quiet. Anywho, now, like before, Judas. And this is the same Judas. This is not any other Judas. Now, Judas had issues all the way up to adulthood. My country, Mohammed Al-Arada, is the US of A. We need Trump so he can make America great again. Did I vote? I forgot to vote Saturday. I wasn't feeling well. Anywho, yeah, Judas, right? He didn't just spring up from nowhere, right? I've read this before, so you know, Judas as a child. I'm just creating content because I don't want to be like the rest of the riffraff people. Then I want to create my own original content where the riffraff people will just leave me alone. That's all. We have our segments, that's it. But other than that, this is me doing me. I don't want the riffraffness. I don't want the mixy and messiness unless it's scheduled. So all of these people who are just looking to see what's up, nothing. We're reading up right now. We're reading about Judas. Because in every camp you have a Judas. Every camp, every group, every friendship, every relationship, every wherever, you will see a Judas just pop up. Now, and on social media, what are we seeing? We're seeing so much Judases, it's unbelievable. All in the form and the shape of what? Woman. Grey tone, grey back, broad back, woman. A bunch of Judases. Now, another woman likewise lived there, whose son was possessed by Satan. This boy named Judas, as often as Satan seized him, was inclined to bite all that were present, and if he found no one else near him, he would bite his own hand and other parts. But the mother of this miserable boy, hearing of Miriam and her son Iesos, arose presently, and taking her son in her arms, brought him to the lady Miriam. You hear how she called him miserable? The pitney. From he was a boy, he was a miserable little boy. You hear how it go? And up to real life, up to adulthood, at the said way him was. Miserable and just want things the way he wanted. But the mother of this miserable boy, hearing of Miriam and her son Iesos, arose presently, and taking her son in her arms, brought him to Miriam. In the meantime, James and Moses had taken away the infant, the Lord Iesos, to play at a proper season with other children. And when they went forth, they sat down, and the Lord Iesos with them. Then Judas, who was possessed, came and sat down at the right hand of Iesos. When Satan was acting upon him as usual, he went about to bite the hand of the Lord Iesos Jesus. And because he could not do it, he struck Iesos on the right side so that he cried out. And in the same moment, Satan went out of the boy and ran like a mad dog. This same boy who struck Jesus, and out of whom Satan went in the form of a dog, was Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him to the Jews. Me not tell you no? When him was a little picnic, Miriam and Joseph have to move from where them did there. Because if you look upon him too bad, he just put your fillet down and you never get back up. Real talk. He ain't just shrivel up your hand. As you said something to him, he ain't just shrivel up one of your limb. The town say you have to leave. You and your son and everybody have to go. Because we now make Uno, make your son come terrorize repeat to them. Yeah, real talk. They had to leave. True. So this is the same Judas. Imagine from them a picnic. Oh yeah, he knew him as a child. Judas. And he was what? One of the apostles. And Christ did know he was already full of demons. Now, the same boy who struck Jesus and out of whom Satan went in the form of a dog was Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him to the Jews. And that same side on which Judas struck him, the Jews pierced him with a spear. Our Lord and Savior. Now, when the Lord Jesus was 7 years of age, right? He's playing with other, little boys his age. And they're making clay shapes and stuff. Namely, right? Asses, horses, whatever. Oxen, and birds, and other figures. Now all of the other children are saying, look at mine, look at mine. Mine is good. Mine look better than yours. Right? They're doing their little competitive thing, right? Then the Lord, Jesus, he said to the boys, I'm going to make my figures walk. And immediately they moved. And when he commanded them to return, they returned. He had also made the figures of birds and sparrows, which, when he commanded to fly, they did fly. And when he commanded to stand still, did stand still. And if he gave them meat and drink, they did eat and drink. When at length the boys went away and related these things to their parents, their father said to them, Take heed, children, for the future of his company, for he is a sorcerer. Shun and avoid him, and from henceforth never play with him. On a certain day also, when the Lord Jesus was playing with the boys and running about, he passed by a dyer's shop, whose name was Salem. And there were in his shop many pieces of cloth belonging to the people of that city, which they designed to dye of several colors. Then the Lord Jesus, going into the dyer's shop, took all the cloths and threw them into the furnace. When Salem came home and saw the cloth spoiled, he began to make a great noise and to chide the Lord Jesus, saying, What hast thou done to me, O thou son of Mariam? Thou hast injured both me and my neighbors. They all desired their cloths of a proper color, but thou hast come and spoiled them all. The Lord Jesus replied, I will change the color of every cloth to what color thou desires. And then he presently began to take the cloths out of the furnace, and they were all dried of those same colors which the dyer desired. And when the Jews saw this surprising miracle, they praised the Almighty. Ah. And then we get to hear about Joseph, right? Because remember, he's a carpenter. He did a lot of things as a child, you know. Oh. Simon. Even Simon he knew. In the month Adar, Iesos gathered together the boys and ranked them as though he had been a king. For they spread their garments on the ground for him to sit on, and having made a crown of flowers, put it upon his head, and stood on his right and left as the guards of a king. And if anyone happened to pass by, they took him by force and said, "Come hither and worship the king, that you may have a prosperous journey." In the meantime, while these things were doing, there came a certain man carrying a boy upon a couch. For this boy, having gone with his companions to the mountain to gather wood, and having found there a partridge's nest, and put his hand in to take out the eggs, was stung by a poisonous serpent, which leaped out of the nest, so that he was forced to cry out for the help of his companions, who then they came, found him lying upon the earth like a dead person. After which his neighbors came and carried him back into the city. But when they came to the place where the Lord Iesus was sitting like a king, and the other boys stood around him like his ministers, the boys made haste to meet him, who was bitten by the serpent, and said to his neighbors, "Come and pay your respect to the king." But when, by reason of their sorrow, they refused to come, the boys drew them and forced them against their wills to come. And when they came to the Lord Iesus, he inquired on what account they carried that boy. And when they answered that a serpent had bitten him, the Lord Iesus said to the boy, "Let us go and kill that serpent." But when the parents of the boy desired to be excused because their son... Where's my glasses? No wonder I'm squinting. Oh, God. You couldn't tell me that I didn't have on my glasses. No? Okay. I love reading. Okay. But when the parents of the boy desired to be excused because their son lay at that point of death, the boys made answer and said, "Did not ye hear what the king said? Let us go and kill the serpent. And will not ye obey him?" So they brought the couch back again, whether they would or not. And when they were come to the nest, the Lord Iesus said to the boys, "Is this the serpent's lurking place?" They said it was. Then the Lord Iesus, calling the serpent, it presently came forth and submitted to him, to whom he said, "Go and suck out all the poison which thou hast infused into this boy." So the serpent crept to the boy and took away all its poison again. Then the Lord Iesus cursed the serpent so that it immediately burst asunder and died. And he touched the boy with his hand to restore him to his former health. And when he began to cry, the Lord Iesus said, "Cease crying, for hereafter thou shalt be my disciple." And this is that Simon, the Canaanite, who is mentioned in the gospel. Now you see, these are childhood friends. And even in his childhood, they were honoring him as a king, right? They were playing games to the point that now he's the king in their world. And we get to meet Judas, and we get to meet Simon. And James. Because James gets bitten also by a viper, and Iesus blows on the wound and heals him. And remember, the Christ was accused of throwing a boy off a rooftop, and the boy dead. He made a fish pool, right? The Christ. He made a fish pool. And this boy came along and he destroyed his fish pool. I cannot even tell you what. And there was another boy who ran against him. Then he pushed him over. That was the end of that. Yeah, he was terrible. So James was there too as a child. But the boy that, messed up his fish pond, oh, he was so angry. And even the dead boy, the Christ, asked him, "Ze inon us, who threw thee down from the housetop?" The dead boy, him asked this now, Turn up on the dead boy head. Ze inon us, who threw thee down from the housetop? Then the dead boy answered, "Thou didst not throw me down, but such a one did." Okay. So there was a lot of things he was able to do. Okay. He loved him some sparrows. Iesus, he loved him. And when you hear about the song of the sparrows, It's very symbolic. Very symbolic. You see, on earth, right, we just think, you know, that things are just there and, we sing along, in the sparrow, we're doing our little thing. But there's some symbolism to all of this. Symbolism. To let you know, sorry, to let you know that God is real. Now remember, the Creator is taking human form. You gotta get this concept in your head. You gotta get it. If you don't get it, I don't know what to do. You gotta remember, so the Almighty say, all right, let me see now how it feels to be human. Let me see how it go. Right? Okay, so now he's in the human form. The Word is now flesh. Y'all gotta get the concept, man. Alright, so now the Word is now flesh. And through the words, we get to learn stuff. Because now it's not just by, prophecy, which has already been put down, right? But we get to hear and see the word then, right? As much as people often say, wherever, right? And that's the power of the thing, is the words, right? Meaning words. You get to read, you get to investigate, research, wherever, by the word. Okay. Now, the word is this. It's the truth. The word is this. As a little boy, right, him used to do things, just like a regular child, right? God in the flesh. Don't forget. You cannot forget this, right? Okay. In the form of Iesos, right? This is what we believe, right? Okay. The word. So, again on another day, the Lord Iesos was with some boys by a river, and they drew water out of the river by little channels, and made little fish pools. But the Lord Iesos had made 12 sparrows. 12. That is so symbolic, the number 12. The 12 tribe of Israel. But the Lord Iesos had made 12 sparrows, and placed them about his pool on each side, 3 on a side. But it was the Sabbath day, and the son of Anani, a Jew, came by and saw them making these things, and said, do you make these things of clay on the Sabbath? And he ran to them and broke down their fish pools. But when the Lord Iesos clapped his hands over the sparrows which he had made, they fled away chirping. At length the son of Anani, coming to the fish pool of Iesos to destroy it, the water vanished away, and the Lord Iesos said to him, in like manner as this water has vanished, so shall thy life vanish. And presently the boy another time when the Lord, Iesus, was coming home in the evening with Joseph, he met a boy who ran so hard against him that he threw him down. To whom the Lord Iesus said, As thou hast thrown me down, so shalt thou fall, nor ever rise. So now, them have to send him go to school because right now it look like say him have to go learn a little bit now because he might get out of control, right? He might beat up this year one, he might fix this year one, he might shrivel up this year one hand, he might do all kind of thing. So now they send him to a schoolmaster named Zacchaeus. So Mariam said, okay, I'm going to send you to Zacchaeus. Perhaps he can teach you something. Now when Zacchaeus saw him write out an alphabet for him. So him say, I want you to say the Aleph. And when he had said Aleph, the master bade him pronounce Beth. Then the Lord Iesus said to him, tell me the first meaning of the letter Aleph. And then I will pronounce Beth. And when the master threatened to whip him, the Lord Iesus explained to him the meaning of the letters Aleph and Beth. Also, which were the straight figures of the letters, which the oblique, and what letters had double figures, which had points, and which had none, why one letter went before another, and many other things he began to tell him and explain, of which the master himself had never heard nor read in any book. The Lord Iesus' father said to the master, take notice how I say to thee. Then he began clearly and distinctly to say Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Daleth, and so on to the end of the alphabet. At this, the master was so surprised that he said, I believe that this boy was born before Noah. And turning to Joseph, he said, thou hast brought a boy to me to be taught, who is more learned than any master. He said also unto Mariam, this your son has no need of any learning. They brought him then to a more learned master, who, when he saw him, said, say, Aleph. And when he had said Aleph, the master bade him pronounce Beth. To which the Lord Iesus replied, tell me the first meaning of the letter Aleph, and then I will pronounce Beth. But this master, when he lifted up his hand to whip him, had his hand presently withered. Then said Joseph to Mariam, henceforth we will not allow him to go out of the house. For everyone who displeases him, he get rid of them. I'm sorry. This is what his parents said. So he's able at 12 years of old to speak about law, astronomy, physics, and metaphysics. And his mother had to grab him and say, you're getting out of control. Okay. He conceals his miracles now because he realized that people are like, And he studies law and he is baptized. And who baptizes him? So Now from this time, Iesos began to conceal his miracles and secret works, and he gave himself to the study of the law until he arrived to the end of his 30th year, at which time the Father publicly owned him at Jordan, sending down this voice from Zion: "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." The Holy One being also present in the form of a dove. This is he whom we worship with all reverence, because he gave us our life and being and brought us from our mother's womb, who for our sakes took a human body and have redeemed us, so that he might so embrace us with everlasting mercy and show his free, large, bountiful grace and goodness to us. To him be glory and praise and power and dominion from henceforth and forevermore. Amen. This is so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I have nothing to do on this wonderful Monday other than to glorify the King. This is my channel and this is what we do. If you want other excitement, you know where to go. But I'm creating content on the Christ because yesterday was Palm Sunday. And that's basically it. So me not there here for please nobody. Wanna go where on the need for God. I'm perfectly fine here doing what I'm doing. I'm just letting people see what's up, let people know what's up, and that's basically it, right? That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else. I'm creating my own content because I do get ads and so forth. And as the algorithms go up, it's also good. I appreciate all my new subscribers. Thank you very much. I'm trying to show positiveness other than the usual laba and carrying onings. If anything happens, I'll be the first one to blab about it. But meanwhile, I want to show more of a realness because everybody else is so fake. It's true. So, what time is it? Oh my God. Yeah, okay, I can make this 2 hours. So we're just basically going over the Christ because yesterday was Palm Sunday. Everybody was greeting him in and acknowledging him, right? Right? But yet they're angry people on social media, and their behavior is deplorable, and that's basically it. So more than we get tied up and ringed up with all of the nonsense that's going on, there's other things that we can do to keep focused where you keep out of the nonsense. It's not healthy, it's not good. Now, like Thomas, an Israelite, judged it necessary to make known to our brethren and sisters among the Gentiles, the actions and miracles of the Christ in his childhood, which our Lord and Creator, Jesus the Christ, wrought after his birth in Bethlehem, in our country, in which I myself was astonished, the beginning of which was as followeth. When the child Jesus was 5 years of age, and there had been a shower of rain, which was now over, Jesus was playing with other Hebrew boys who had Hebrew mothers, like myself. Good. By running a stream, and the water running over the bank stood in little lakes. But the water instantly became clear and useful again, he having smote them only by his word. They readily obeyed him. Then he took from the bank of the stream some soft clay, and formed out of it 12 sparrows, and there were other boys playing with him. But a certain Jew, seeing these things which he was doing, namely his forming clay into the figures of sparrows on the Sabbath day, went presently away and told his father Joseph, and said, Behold, the boy is playing by the riverside, and has taken clay and formed it into 12 sparrows, and profaned the Sabbath. Then Joseph came to the place where he was, and when he saw him, called to him and said, Why doest thou that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath day? Then Jesus, clapping together the palms of his hands, called to the sparrows, and said to them, Go, fly away, and while ye live, remember me. So the sparrow fled away, making a noise. The Jews, seeing this, were astonished, and went away and told their chief persons what a strange miracle they had seen wrought by Jesus. And again, we're going to read about the fish pool. And then when they start to accuse him, his father pulls him by the ear and asks him if something wrong with him. And this is from Thomas's account. Now, Joseph called him, Jesus, why doest thou such things to injure the people so, that they eat us and prosecute us? But Jesus replied, I knew that what thou sayest is not of thyself, but for thy sake I will say nothing. But they who have said these things to thee shall suffer everlasting punishment. And immediately they who had cursed him became blind. And all they who saw it were exceedingly afraid and confounded, and said concerning him, Whatsoever he saith, whether good or bad, immediately cometh to pass. And they were amazed, And when they saw this action of the Christ, Joseph arose and plucked him by the ear. Come here! At which the boy was angry and said to him, be easy. Hold on, Nick, be easy, man. Hold on. And you pluck me by my ear for? Real talk. The Christ tell him, Father, be easy. How we you do? He fears the body, you know. And when they saw the action of the Christ, Joseph arose and plucked him by an ear, at which the boy was angry and said to him, be easy. For if they seek for us, they shall not find us. Thou hast done very imprudently. Dost not thou not know that I am thine? Trouble me no more. That thing telling Father. So this is Thomas's account, right? Thomas' account of the infancy of the Christ. Do you know there's an epistle of Christ? And this is by King Abgarus, sent to him by Ananias, his footman, to Jerusalem, inviting him to Edessa. And he wants to know about the cures Iesos is making without the use of medicines and herbs. And everything that's been reported to him is like he's restored people back to health who have been long diseased, and also raises up the dead. So I say, is either you is God descended from heaven who do these things, or you the Son of the Almighty. On this account, I write to you earnestly to desire you would take the trouble of a journey further and cure a disease which I am under. For I hear the Jews ridicule you and intend you mischief. My cry is indeed small, but neat and large enough for us both. So, the Christ response that those who have seen me should not believe on me, that they who have not seen might believe and live. As to that part of your letter which relates to my giving you a visit, I must inform you that I must fulfill all the ends of my mission in this country, and after that be received up again to him who sent me. But after my ascension, I will send one of my disciples who will cure your disease and give life to you and all that are with you. Okay, yeah. So I myself keep saying the same thing. The Gospel of Nicodemus, right? Formerly called the Acts of Pontius Pilate. As much as ones want to say the Jesus story, because they even say it here, that's what I was just reading. I was speed reading. About the forgeries and the nature, the heathens who were against Christian religion. But these acts could not be these acts could not be produced, imagined. It would be of service to Christianity to fabricate and publish this gospel, as it would both confirm the Christians under persecution and convince the heathens of the truth of the Christian religion. Christians, even in the first 3 centuries, and that a forgery of this nature with the view above mentioned seems natural and probable. And it also says, in his ecclesiastical history, charges the pagans with having forged and published a book called The Acts of Pilate. It takes occasion to observe that the internal evidence of this gospel shows it was not the work of any heathen, but that if in the latter end of the 3rd century we find it in use among Christians, and about the same time find the forgery of the heathens under the same title, it seems exceedingly probable that some Christians at that time should publish such a peace as this in order partly to confront the spurious one of the pagans and partly to support those appeals which had been made by former Christians to the acts of Pilate. And Mr. Jones says he thinks so more particularly as we have innumerable instances of forgeries by the faithful in the primitive ages, grounded on less plausible reasons, whether it be canonical or not. It is of very great antiquity, and it is appealed to by several of the ancient Christians. The present translation is made from the Gospel published by Grinius in the Orthodoxographa. And this is what I say all the time, that Pontius Pilate is very significant in all of this. And Pontius Pilate is the one who they presented Christ to all the time. Yeah, right? Always remember that. And Pontius Pilate was the ruler. And every time we hear about the Christ, they throwing him in front of Pontius Pilate. Right? Annas and Caiaphas and Sumas and Datam, Gamaliel, Judas, Levi, Nephthalim, Alexander, Cyrus, and other Jews went to Pilate about Jesus, accusing him with many crimes, and said, "We are assured that Iesus is the son of Joseph the carpenter." Note Matthew 13 verses 55 and John 42. And he was born of Mariam, and that he declares himself the Son of the Almighty and a king. And not only so, but attempts the dissolution of the Sabbath and the laws of our fathers. Pilate replied, "What is it which he declares? And what is it which he attempts dissolving? I'm clueless." The Jews told him, "We have a law which forbids doing cures on the Sabbath day." No, this is Exodus 8. That's Moses, right? Okay. But he cures both the lame and the deaf, those afflicted with the palsy, the blind and lepers, and demoniacs on that day by wicked methods. Pilate replied, "How can he do this by wicked methods?" Thank you. This is why I say Pilate is very important. Pontius Pilate. Me no care what nobody say. I don't care what no one says. He's significant in this whole story about the Christ. He's a living witness to the whole thing, which is documented because he's Pontius Pilate. So he was face to face with the Christ, face to face. So the story is true because Pontius Pilate was real. It's not fake. Now, you can say fake up as into a make-up story, because again, I have heard it was like a gang thing going on and he knew everybody from childhood and all of this was all done to whatever. This is what I heard, right? I heard the same thing. But you can't go by these agnostics that have things to say. You know, I go by reading stuff. Now, when I go to Pontius Pilate now, this is where I have to go, because I know Pontius Pilate was a real living human around the time of the Christ, because they kept throwing the Christ in his face. Real talk. Pilate replied, "How can he do this by wicked methods?" They answered, "He is a conjurer, and casts out devils by the prince of the devils." Note Matthew 6:24 and 11:5. Note Matthew 4:34 and 12:24. And so all things become subject to him. Then said Pilate, "Casting out devils seems not to be the work of an unclean spirit, but to proceed from the power of the Almighty." The Jews replied to Pilate, "We entreat your highness to summon him to appear before your tribunal and hear him yourself." Then Pilate called the messenger and said to him, "By what means will Christ be brought hither?" Then went the messenger forth, and knowing Christ worshipped him, and having spread the cloak which he had in his hand upon the ground, he said, "Lord, walk upon this and go in, for the governor calls thee." When the Jews perceived what the messenger had done, they exclaimed against him to Pilate and said, "Why did you not give him his summons by a beadle and not by a messenger?" For the messenger, when he saw him, worshipped him, and spread the cloak which he had in his hand upon the ground before him, and said to him, "Lord, the governor calls thee." Right. Then Pilate called the messenger and said, "Why hast thou done thus?" The messenger replied, "When thou sentest me from Jerusalem to Alexander, I saw Iesus sitting in a mean figure upon a she-ass, and the children of the Hebrews cried out, 'Hosanna!' holding boughs of trees in their hands." That was yesterday. That was yesterday. Don't forget. Others spread their garments in the way and said, "Save us, thou who art in Zion. Blessed is he who cometh in the name of the Lord." Matthew 21, 8 and 9. Then the Jews cried out against the messenger and said, "The children of the Hebrews made their acclamations in the Hebrew language. And how couldst thou, who art a Greek, overstand the Hebrew?" The messenger answered then and said, "I asked one of the Jews, and said, What is this which the children do cry out in the Hebrew language?" And he explained to me, saying, "They cry out, Hosanna," which being interpreted is, "O Lord, save me." O Lord, save. Pilate then said to them, why do you yourselves testify to the words spoken by the children, namely, by your silence? In what has the messenger done amiss? And they were silent. Then the governor said unto the messenger, go forth and endeavor by any means to bring him in. But the messenger went forth and did as before, and said, Lord, come in, for the governor calleth thee. And as Iesus was going in by the ensigns, who carried the standards, the tops of them bowed down and worshipped Iesus. Whereupon the Jews exclaimed more vehemently against the ensigns. But Pilate said to the Jews, I know it is not pleasing to you that the tops of the standards did of themselves bow and worship Iesus. But why do you exclaim against the ensigns as if they had bowed and worshipped? They replied to Pilate, we saw the ensigns themselves bowing and worshipping Iesus. Then the governor called the ensigns and said unto them, why did you do thus? The ensign said to Pilate, we are all pagans and worship the gods in temples, and how should we think anything about worshipping him? We only held the standards in our hands, and they bowed themselves and worshipped him. Then said Pilate to the rulers of the synagogue, do ye yourselves choose some strong men and let them hold the standards, and we shall see whether they will then bend of themselves. So the elders of the Jews sought out 12 of the most strong and able of old men. Good afternoon, Vicky. And made them hold the standards, and they stood in the presence of the governor. Then Pilate said to the messenger, take Iesus out, and by some means bring him in again. And Iesus and the messenger went out of the hall. And Pilate called the ensigns who before had borne the standards, and swore to them that if they had not borne the standards in that manner when Iesus before entered in, he would cut off their heads. Then the governor commanded Iesus to come in again. And the messenger did as he had done before, and very much entreated Iesus that he would go upon his cloak and walk on it. And he did walk upon it and went in. And when Iesus went in, the standards bowed themselves as before and worshipped him. You cannot stop what God has ordained. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is the Jews now, right? Not these ones today, the real one back in the ancients of days, filled with people then, but they're the Jews, Judaism, and they're very strict and all of that, right? And they never did too like the Hebrewness of the thing, but, they were Hebrews, but they were, Okay, now, listen to this. When Pilate saw this, he was afraid and was about to rise from his seat. But while he thought to rise, his own wife, what's her name again? Anyway, his own wife, who stood at a distance, sent to him, saying, have thou nothing to do with this just man. Just leave him alone. Don't. Claudia, I think her name was. Her name Claudia? I think her name was Claudia. Anyway. We'll find out later, yeah. Have thou nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered much concerning him in a vision that night, which was Matthew 27, chapter 19. When the Jews heard this, they said to Pilate, did we not say unto thee, he is a conjurer? Behold, he hath caused thy wife to dream. Pilate then, calling Iesus, said, thou hast heard what they testify against thee, and makest no answer. Iesus replied, if they had not a power of speaking, they could not have spoke, but because everyone has the command of his own tongue to speak both good and bad, let him look to it. But the elders of the Jews answered and said to Iesus, what shall we look to? In the first place, we know this concerning thee, that thou wast born through fornication. In the first place, which means that they don't believe in the conception thingy. Okay. In the first place, we know this concerning thee, that thou wast born through fornication. Secondly, that upon the account of thy birth, the infants were slain in Bethlehem. Thirdly, that thy father and mother, Mariam, fled into Egypt because they could not trust their own people. Okay, so what they're saying is that Iesus was born out of fornication because they don't believe in the Immaculate Conception, right? They don't believe it, right? Okay. They're saying that's made up. That didn't happen. Okay. There was no Gabriel come to see nobody and none of that. This is what they say. This is what they believe, right? Okay. And that because of that account of the birth of Christ, the infants were slain in Bethlehem. So you have an account of the Christ which is not true. And based on the account of the Christ which is not true, all of those babies were slain in Bethlehem. So is it that it's not true? Or is it that it is true? And because it's true, you gotta do that? Which one is it? The act itself is questionable. Because based on the accounts of the birth of Christ is the reason why Herod, however, he named this, however, wanted all of the male babies to be, And yet they're saying here that the reason they went to Egypt is because they didn't trust their own people. But yet they left Egypt based on, they went to Egypt based on the killings of the infants. And they never want Christ, they didn't want that to happen, to him. Okay, so they went to Egypt to hide out. I don't see nothing wrong with that. By any means necessary, I'm saving my baby. So you see. So this is how the ancient Jews back then, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all these people, this is how they were thinking, that it's all a lie. And because of them, all these babies were killed and so forth and so forth. Because, they're up there telling lies. This is fascinating. Now, some of the other Jews, right, spoke more favorably. We cannot say that he was born through fornication. But we know that his mother Miriam was betrothed to Joseph. And so he was not born through fornication. Then said Pilate to the Jews, who affirmed him to be born through fornication, this your account is not true, seeing there was a betrothment, as they testify who are of your own nation. Annas and Caiaphas spake to Pilate, all this multitude of people is to be regarded who cry out that he was born through fornication and is a conjurer. But they who deny him to be born through fornication are his proselytes and disciples. Pilate answered Annas and Caiaphas, who are the proselytes? They answered, they are those who are the children of pagans and are not become Jews, but followers of him. Then replied Eliezer, and Asterios, and Antonius, and James, Carus, and Samuel, Isaac, and Phineas, Crispus, and Agrippa, Annas, and Judas. We are not proselytes, but children of Jews, and speak the truth, and were present when Miriam was betrothed. Then Pilate, addressing himself to the 12 men who spake this, said to them, I conjure you by the life of the Christos. No, I conjure you by the life of Caesar, that ye faithfully declares whether he was born through fornication, and those things be true which ye have related. They answered Pilate, We have a law whereby we are forbid to swear, it being a sin. Let them swear by the life of Caesar, that it is not as we have said, and we will be contented to be put to death. Then said Annas and Caiaphas to Pilate, Those 12 men will not believe that we know him to be basely born and to be a conjurer, although he pretends that he is the Son of the Almighty and a king, which we are so far from believing that we tremble to hear. Then Pilate commanded everyone to go out except the 12 men who said he was not born through fornication. And Iesus to withdraw to a distance and said to them, Why have the Jews a mind to kill Iesus? They answered him, They are angry because he wrought cures on the Sabbath day. Pilate said, Will they kill him for good work? They say unto him, Yes, sir. Then Pilate, filled with anger, went out of the hall and said to the Jews, I call the whole world to witness that I find no fault in that man. John 18, verses 31. No fault. Right? This is Pontius Pilate. The Jews replied to Pilate, If he had not been a wicked person, we had not brought him before thee. Pilate said to them, Do ye take him and try him by your law? Then the Jews said, It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death. Pilate said to the Jews, The command, therefore, thou shalt not kill. Exodus 20, verse 13, belongs to you, but not to me. And he went again into the hall and called Iesus by himself and said to him, Art thou the king of the Jews? And Iesus answering said to Pilate, Doest thou speak this of thyself, or did the Jews tell it thee concerning me? Pilate answering said to Iesus, Am I a Jew? The whole nation and rulers of the Jews have delivered thee up to me. What hast thou done? Iesus answering said, My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of the world, then would my servants fight, and I should not have been delivered to the Jews. But now my kingdom is not from hence. Pilate said, Art thou a king then? Iesus answered, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this end came I into the world. And for this purpose I came, that I should bear witness to the truth. And everyone who is of the truth heareth my voice. Pilate saith to him, what is truth? I also said, truth is from Zion. Pilate said, therefore truth is not on earth. I also said to Pilate, believe that truth is on earth among those who, when they have the power of judgment, are governed by truth and form right judgment. Then Pilate left Jesus in the hall and went out to the Jews and said, I find not anyone fault in Jesus, not one, me no find none. None, me no find. The Jews say unto him, but he said, I can destroy the temple of the Almighty, and in 3 days build it up again. Pilate saith unto them, what sort of temple is that of which he speaketh? The Jews say unto him, that which Solomon was 46 years in building. John, verse 19. He said he would destroy and in 3 days build it up. Pilate said to them again, I am innocent from the blood of that man. Do ye look to it? Matthew 27, verse 24. The Jews say to him, his blood be upon us and our children. Then Pilate, calling together the elders and scribes, priests and Levites, saith to them privately, do not act thus. I have found nothing in your charge against him concerning him curing sick persons and breaking the Sabbath worthy of death. The priests and Levites replied to Pilate, by the life of Caesar, if anyone be a blasphemer, he is worthy of death. Leviticus 24, verse 16. But this man hath blasphemed against the Lord. Then the governor again commanded the Jews to depart out of the hall, and calling Jesus said to him, what shall I do with thee? Jesus answered him, do according as it is written. Pilate said to him, how is it written? Jesus said to him, Moses and the prophets have prophesied concerning my suffering and resurrection. The Jews hearing this were provoked and said to Pilate, why wilt thou any longer hear the blasphemy of that man? Pilate saith to them, if these words seem to you blasphemy, do ye take him, bring him to your court, and try him according to your law. The Jews replied to Pilate, our law saith he shall be obliged to receive 39 stripes. But if after this manner he shall blaspheme against the Lord, he shall be stoned. Pilate saith unto them, if that speech of his was blasphemy, do ye try him according to your law? The Jews said to Pilate, our law commands us not to put anyone to death. Exodus 20:13. We desire that he may be crucified because he deserves the death of the cross. Pilate said to them, it is not fit he should be crucified. Let him be only whipped and sent away. Luke 23, verse 16. But when the governor looked upon the people that were present and the Jews, he saw many of the Jews in tears, and said to the chief priests of the Jews, all the people do not desire his death. The elders of the Jews answered to Pilate, we and all the people came hither for this very purpose, that he should die. Pilate said to them, "Why should he die?" They said to him, "Because he declares himself to be the Son of God and a king." Are we not the children of the Almighty? That's the message. Are we not the children of the Creator? Just like what Christ said, he's the Son of the Father. So we just finished reading about the bringing in of Palm Sunday, because a lot of ones are all over the place on social media, perpetrating a fraud, right? But yet when you ask them about what was yesterday, the only thing they can come up with, and I'm not speaking about anyone on this that, said Sunday, but it's just the educational piece, that yesterday was Palm Sunday. But yet ones continue to blaspheme the blood of Jesus. So that was a lengthy read. Vicky Lewis, thank you for joining us. The rest of you guys, thank you. Mohammed, Abstruse TV, Mia Martin, Mia Marty Rosayan, Cravins Labo, thank you, darling. Ingrid, darling. Stephanie, thank you, Ingrid, darling. Yeah, we're just blocking and deleting people. We know how it go. Lawrence Seward. Cool Gaming, what's up? Girl Dad cooking up deliciousness. It is what it is. That's right. Entry into Jerusalem. Okay? Good. Blaze it. Hello from New Mexico. Mark Jack. It is what it is. Mark Jack. Jacqueline Barr. Yeah, I just wanted to do that because, that's us building content. It's good for the ads. Watch the ads and so forth. It's just me building content on my channel. I get new subscribers continuously. Thank you. All you new people who have subscribed to my channel, thank you. It helps us to grow, and it helps us to continue our good content, and we don't have to be like the rest of the people, because as you can see, they've lost their minds, right? So we don't want to be like the rest of the crowd, right? As much as ones think that this is not going to work, it does. It works, right? It works because you get to show people that you're on a different level, like you're on a different, and that way they can't get to call up your name and call you names and so forth. We have our Mixy and Messy segment, which is tomorrow, and that can go any which way you want it to go. Today we got the big woman things. I might come back later and do that. But I just wanted to do this little thing about Mary Magdalene and, judging people. It's not good, because remember that Mary Magdalene, Mary from Magdalene was a prostitute who the Christ loved. To the point, because he's taking on the form of a human, watching her wash his feet in the oils and using her locks, to wipe off the oil off his feet. The apostles looked at that as being like, how dare you? Look at her, right? They're judging her, right? They're judging her, watching Mary of Magdalene use the oils that were, that she was able to get that had, some connection to him. And she was able to use that oil and rub his head, hair, whatever, and do his feet. And then when she rubbed the oil with his feet, she used her ear, and apparently her hair is long, right? It has to be long. And she's using the hair and she's rubbing the excess oils of his feet. And the apostles are looking at that as, how dare you? They're looking at her like, how dare you do such a thing? Who are you? But the Christ loved it. He got to feel as a human the tenderness and the compassion and the feel of a genuine love, to the point that you're washing my feet in oil. So he replied to them, anyone of uno, well, not like that, but I'm saying like that. Did anyone of uno do this? Did any of you do this? Not one of you have done this. But you're judging her? You're judging her. So they're judging her because of who she is at the time. And they cannot fathom how Christ loves this woman so. Mary of Magdalene. So as we're reading, as we do further reading, we get to elaborate more on that, because what we're reading leads right up into that again. It was just amazing. I'm dumbfounded. And we continue reading and we get to read the same story, but we get to see how the oil situation occurred. It's fantastic. And that same story is connected somehow to Mary of Magdalene and the oils that she was able to procure. I suppose they were selling the oil, right? With his, navel cord or his foreskin from the circumcision. There was something going on where they were making oils from that. Real talk. That she was able to get some. But they said how much they could get for it. Yeah. So anywho, thank you for joining me. I gotta go. I've been reading for a moment, but I'm glad because I'm just creating content. The ads are there, and this is about recognizing Palm Sunday. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you got something out of it, and of course, we shall return.